Verse 24. Jesus calls each person who would follow him to deny self, the natural impulse to nurture the sinful nature of the flesh. Rather than give in to the voice of worldly wisdom, we must take counsel from the Word of God and be led by the Spirit. What is the believer must embrace the cross. The believer, the Word of God says that the believer must take up his or her cross, which means that he or she has to embrace the instrument, embrace God's means of putting to death our sinful nature. Death to the flesh means life in the Spirit. In other words, here's the deal. What I'm trying to say is this. Now, let me make this next point, and you'll see what I'm talking about. When Jesus says, take up your cross and follow him, that means that you've got to embrace the instrument. The cross, for Jesus, the cross was the instrument of execution. And for you and me, the cross is the same thing. Now, it doesn't mean, let me tell you what it doesn't mean. It does not necessarily mean that you live as an ascetic. It doesn't mean that you become some monk and you torture yourself just for the sake of, because you feel that by torturing your body, you're somehow redeeming yourself. But lots of religions embrace harsh treatment of the body, but that in and of itself does not accomplish anything of lasting spiritual value. You can go to Colossians chapter 2, read verses 17 through 23. Instead, it means to surrender your plans to God's plans. So what it means to take up your cross is you surrender your will for his will. It means to embrace, it means to exchange God's will for your own. It means to take Jesus as your Lord. It means to give Jesus the remote. It means to give Jesus the keys and whatever else suggests control. In other words, it means to make him truly Lord of your life. It doesn't necessarily mean you go and torture yourself. It's like this. My boys and I, we've been exercising lately. Okay, you know, we've been walking, and sometimes, you know, when you're pushing yourself, you know, let's say you're on a treadmill. That treadmill is the cross to you. Why? Because it means death. It means death to your physical comfort, right? Somebody, am I preaching the truth now? All right, and a high five to Thaddeus. Yes, indeed. Slap. Okay? All right? And every sometimes we're stuck in wind, back in that mid-90 degree weather, we're walking along, and we're like, mercy, and we're stuck in wind, you know? And Steve, you know what I do? I look over at Shane, and you know what I say? I say, no pain. And he says, no pain. And I said, no pain. And he says, no pain. You know, I give him a little bit of Mickey. You're going to be a very dangerous person. My son Ronnie got me the other day. Man, I was sucking wind. I was in bad shape. Now my son, of course, Ronnie, you gotta understand, Ronnie is like this. He's like, you know, he's like, you know, here I am, I'm carrying 3 people. God, what's wrong? Ronnie's like this thing. Ronnie is just like going, I'm like, and Ronnie's like with the yo-yo. He's like, you're not even breaking the sweat. I'm hanging on for dear life, and he's got the yo. He's like nothing. I mean, you look at him. I mean, I can't get enough sweat off of that boy to lick a postage stamp. And I got a towel. And I'm like, and here's Ronnie. And here's Ronnie. Dad. He says, Dad. Because he sees that I'm like, Dad. He says, Dad, do you remember that word? What's that word, Dad, that the Giants used in their introduction when they played the Patriots? What was that word? I looked up and I said, resiliency. He said, yeah, resiliency. I said, resiliency. Resiliency. Oh man, that was all I needed to hear. And that brought me back to the Super Bowl. Don't need to open any, don't need to go there, but you know what I'm trying to say. Enough said, right? But you know, let me tell you something. That treadmill could be the cross for you if it represents the instrument of death to your flesh. Your cell phone could be the instrument of death if that's what you've got to do to break off that relationship that's not pleasing God. Take up your cross. Hit your speed dial. Okay? And do what you know is right. I could go on, but let's get to what we got going on here. Verse 25, Jesus here gives a paradox. Whoever wishes to save his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for Christ's sake will actually find it. That does not make sense with the human mind. That doesn't make sense, I'm sorry. That's just not logical by the way we do business here on earth. That's why we must initially take the word of the Lord by faith. However, experience will always show that God's way will be the path to true joy. The surest way for you to find joy, fulfillment, and satisfaction is to take up your cross. It may be the instrument of death to your flesh, but it'll be the instrument of life to your soul. A person may think he or she knows what choices will lead to happiness, only to find out that it forever eludes them. On the other hand, that which you think will only mean pain and misery could actually provide a wellspring of blessing and satisfaction. Verse 26, Jesus says, what does it profit a man if he gain the whole world and lose his soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Even if a person could get every bit of human pleasure and all of the vain things that life has to offer, what would it profit him in the end? Even the greatest pleasures, all the money in the world, all of the physical pleasure, all the sexual gratification, all of the power, all of the pride, all of these things, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, all of these things, if you can get your full, at best, it's only temporary. What good is it if it means eternity separated from God in the lake of fire? Is your soul of so little value that you would barter it away like Esau, who traded his birthright for a mess of pottage? He ate it. He sat down. He traded away his birthright, which would have meant that for generations, he would have been one of the patriarchs. But what he did, he traded all that away for a mess of pottage, for stew that Jacob was eating. He ate the stew. He got up. He burped, and he walked away. And we don't serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. We serve the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Because Esau traded away that which had lasting value because he wanted temporary gratification. Are you willing to trade eternity with God for passing pleasures of sin? Missionary Jim Elliot gives us a much wiser, more scriptural perspective. He said, he is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose. Jesus rightly rejected Satan's offer. Satan said, I'll give you everything. That whole world. I'll give you all the power. I'll give you all the pleasure. I'll give you everything if you'll fall down and worship me. And Jesus told him, you and your offer can get out of here. I rebuke you, get out.